Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has been out for over a year now, and I figured that there's been a significant enough amount of time to observe the development of the meta, and to give a decent enough evaluation of Little Mac's competitive viability in this game. In this video, I want to focus on Little Mac's transition from Smash 4 to Ultimate, and the difficulties Mac faces in the game since said transition. My name is Cobalt, and I've been a Little Mac main since Smash 4, so when Ultimate was announced, and I saw the mechanical changes that were being implemented, I was incredibly excited for the possibility of Mac being more viable than he was in Smash 4. Little Mac has been a very polarizing character since his introduction to the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. In Smash 4, Little Mac was amongst the new arrivals to the game. In the early game's development, the online community despised Little Mac for his incredible frame data and oppressive ground game, despite his abysmal win-to-loss ratio. As the metagame of Smash 4 developed, Little Mac was widely considered one of the worst characters in the game, frequently being placed in bottom tier by many of the top professionals at the time. Over the course of the meta's development, he eventually settled into a lower mid-tier character, based off of the official tier list from the Smash Backroom, but was always considered in the bottom half of the cast by a wide margin. Despite his lower tier status, he still had a significantly good ground game and multiple kill confirms, and many notable players were able to see success with Mac during this era, with Noble Esports Seoul pioneering the competitive Little Mac meta. Other notable Mac mains at this time included BT Yamato, Cact, Destiny, Duffo, Vash, Pussy King, Lazy Boredom, Tarakatori, and Wonderbread. It was always a thrilling experience seeing how far some of these incredible Mac mains could take the character, and how many upsets they could make, such as Soul's wins against Salem and Close Set against Captain Zack, Lazy Boredom and Wonderbread's victories against Captain Zack, and Cact's win over Komurikiri. Mac was not a consistent presence in the higher level of the meta, but even top players knew not to underestimate the sheer power Mac could bring to the table. In this portion of the analysis, I'm going to focus on the mechanical changes that were made from the transition from Smash 4 to Ultimate, the differences in how the engine functions, and any valuable tech that was altered or discovered. In the transition from Smash 4 to Ultimate, the mechanical changes initially boded quite well for Little Mac pre-release, such as the ability to immediately act out of a run, and the reinstatement of directional air dodging to offer an additional method of recovery. Upon release, however, these changes proved to be ultimately minimal in terms of his overall performance when compounded with the other mechanical changes that were made to the game's movement options. In Ultimate, you're no longer able to run through an opponent in the same way you could in previous Smash titles. This makes mobility more difficult for Mac, forcing him to jump or roll to get on the opposite side of his opponent. Though Mac does have one of the longest roll distances of the game, and also has the fastest roll in the game timed with a few other characters, so this option isn't terrible unless his roll is stale. This also makes it significantly more difficult to cross up your opponent, though some of the other tech I'm going to mention shortly covers some of that. His dash attack does still have the capability of crossing up shields, but this honestly isn't an effective, safe, or reliable way to get around your opponents. The shield mechanics have also received some alterations. The changes in calculation for shield stun were good for Mac since they now grant slightly more shield stun to tilt attacks and reduce the shield stun of aerials, though with the end lag on most aerials in this game this is kind of negligible. Shield dropping also now takes 11 frames instead of 7. Overall, it's slightly safer for Little Mac to apply pressure to shields using tilts, though these are still incredibly punishable, but the added shield stun does help him out just a little bit. With these shield changes, it's also more difficult for Mac to get shield grabbed after hitting his opponent's shield, so any attacks that can push you away from your opponent, such as downward angled F smash or forward tilt, are helpful in this regard. Directional air dodging was added back into the game, and I had anticipated this to be a positive for Little Mac, giving him an additional option to mix up his recovery on the treacherous voyages back to the stage. The directional air dodge certainly does this, but the issue is his directional air dodge has a notably shorter travel distance than any other characters, and its recovery time is not significantly better than other characters. A majority of the cast travels 20 units when directional air dodging, while Max is 5 lats at 15 units. He also has the lowest amount of intangibility frames on his directional air dodge as well. I've compared the total duration of frames in all directions for Mac to the average values of the full cast air dodge frames shown on screen. Mac's total air dodge frames are between 12 and 19% faster than the average value for the total directional air dodge frames for the cast, while his travel distance is 25% lower than the rest of the cast. He gains no notable advantage from having a shorter air dodge, such as less end lag, and several other characters that have normal air dodge distances also have less total frames on their directional air dodges than he does, while maintaining a comparable amount of intangibility frames. Directional air dodging definitely benefits him by adding an additional option for mixing up his recovery, but his directional air dodges are inarguably worse than a large majority of the cast, and as such do not offer him the same utility as it does other characters. Next, let's talk about perfect pivoting. Perfect pivoting was a technique utilized in Smash 4, allowing the player to turn around instantly without any lag that was incredibly useful for Little Mac, and allowed for precise and consistent microspacing. For example, it allowed Little Mac to convert down tilts to reverse up tilts, and to more safely approach with the backwards hitbox of his up tilt, which had a slightly longer reach than the front hitbox. It wasn't just effective for offensive options either, and it was a useful strategy for spacing your character's position to just outside your opponent's range, and setting up for optimal punish spacing. You can see MKLeo using it here to slightly outspace Samsora's dash attack. This technique is not possible in Ultimate due to the way that the dash mechanics have changed, and the absence of it in Ultimate limits Mac's movement options. This is a universal change, and it does impact more characters than just Little Mac. However, in Smash 4, this was a much more important factor for Little Mac's kit than others, so its removal resulted in a large detriment to Little Mac's viability. Pivot canceling can replicate this in Ultimate, but it bears less utility since it can only be performed out of a full run, and not out of an initial dash in the same way that perfect pivoting could be. It does still, however, have its uses, and can be effective when implemented alongside forward tilt or up tilt. Reverse Soul has seen success with it in bracket as shown here. It functions in a similar fashion to perfect pivoting, but the speed at which you're able to perform this technique is much slower since the initial dash must end prior to its use. Foxtrotting is another movement option that is quite common to the Super Smash Bros. Franchise, involving repeatedly executing the character's initial dash. In Smash 4, it very heavily benefited Little Mac, actually making him capable of being faster than Captain Falcon, who was the second fastest character in the game behind Sonic. And the increases in dash speeds in the transition to Ultimate have made that technique more universally applicable to the rest of the cast. Foxtrotting overall has gotten better, and that's definitely a benefit for Little Mac. However, Foxtrot canceling is another story. This is a clip from Keitaro demonstrating the tech from Smash 4. It allowed canceling of the initial dash with another initial dash before going into a full run, while these dashes can be cancelled into smash attacks and tilts. In Smash 4, this tech was a necessity for Little Mac's movement. It gave him so many more options and allowed for the ability to close distance and get any number of attacks out quickly. When coupled with his frame data, perfect pivoting, and armored smash attacks, this made for a fast-paced and effective ground game. This tech was also removed from the game alongside perfect pivoting due to the changes of the engine for the dash mechanics. Its removal certainly did Little Mac no favors and further limits his movement options. With the addition of dash canceling to the game into grounded moves, this does offer Mac a comparable method of replicating this tech, but it doesn't fully replace it, and its utility is considerably less considering it doesn't function out of an initial dash in the same way that Foxtrot canceling does, and only functions out of a full run. Spot dodge canceling is a technique that was discovered in Ultimate that allows you to cancel your spot dodge 5 frames early into any grounded move with the exception of grab and dash attack. This tech is useful for every character in the game and gives them a faster option out of spot dodge. Little Mac is on the lower end of the amount of intangibility frames alongside Fox, ZSS, Sheik, and Diddy. The total active frames of his spot dodge are 23 frames when fresh, meaning that he's able to act as soon as frame 18 out of his spot dodge, and this can be incredibly useful for whiff punishing with a smash attack or a combo starter. Finally, rolled cancelled boost grabs are a newly discovered technique for Ultimate that were covered in great detail by the Beefy Smash dudes last year. Essentially, it allows you to cancel an initial dash into a roll into a grab, and allows the character to cover a greater distance than their dash grab does. The distance traveled is based on the character's roll distance, and Little Mac is one of the few characters whose roll distance is long enough to effectively roll cancel boost grab and get behind the opponent to perform a pivot grab. Now, this is helpful considering running through opponents is no longer an option, but considering Mac's lackluster follow-ups off of grabs, which I'll cover in greater detail in the moveset section, this may only be useful for mix-up options or conditioning, but its niche utility is certainly beneficial, though I have yet to see it effectively or consistently used in a tournament setting. His initial dash, run speed, and walk speeds have all received increases. This is a beneficial change for Mac since dash dancing is quite good in this game, and given Mac's initial dash speed, he's excellent at this. While this doesn't compensate for the lack of perfect pivoting and foxtrot canceling from Smash 4, he definitely does have one of the best dash dances in the game. He also has a greatly improved airspeed, making it much easier for him to deal with platforms and for making it back to stage with aerial drift. Unfortunately, his jump height didn't receive any buffs, so he's still susceptible to platform camping and he should still avoid Smashville like the plague. Though the Smash Wiki states that his jump height was increased, directly contradicting itself, so I don't know what to believe. All I know is that I can't make it onto the Smashville platform with a single jump. That's really all I need to know. He's also slightly heavier now, allowing for small improvements to his survivability, and though he is still considered a lightweight, this change definitely does help him out. I know that I've covered a lot of tech in this section, and I've kept it specific to tech that particularly applies to Mac, so that doesn't really include stuff like C-stick macros or attack canceling. The tech in Ultimate is just not as beneficial as the tech from Smash 4 was for Little Mac's kit. These mechanical and engine changes have just altered things in a way that negatively impacts him while offering very little compensation for the removal of the techniques that previously made him a threat, despite the enhancements to his movement speed. I do understand that the removal of old tech is not the be-all and end-all for a game though, as new tech is always being discovered. And I know that a character's movement isn't the only thing that defines their neutral, but characters that have good mobility tend to be better off in Smash, and I definitely think that the mechanical changes made in Ultimate have made his movement worse due to the increased effectiveness of aerials, lacking the ability to cross up your opponents, and less consistent methods of microspacing. Now, I will certainly not say that his mobility is bad. He's one of the fastest characters in the game when grounded and can close distance and punish very effectively, and characters like Ganon have a much harder time than Mac does in that department. All I'm saying is his movement is worse when compared to his previous iteration. The alterations to the engine have made things much better for most of the cast, but have unfortunately resulted in changes that hurt Mac more than they benefit him. To start off, let's talk about jab, and boy do we have a lot to unpack with this one. In Smash 4, Mac's jab was a bread and butter part of his kit. It was an all-around useful tool and converted into so much. For starters, his jab was frame 1, being tied with ZSS's jab for the fastest move in the game. It confirmed into up special, KO punch, and could be converted off of into tilts and could be used as mix-ups for combo extensions. This applied to jab 2 as well. Its utility cannot be understated, and it was one of Mac's most useful moves in his toolkit. Now, here's where I was slightly conflicted. I wasn't sure if what I'm about to discuss should be placed in the movesets or mechanics section since this is a universal change, but since it applies and impacts his moves and not his movement, I'm just going to put it here. In Ultimate, there was a universal change made that improved the connectivity for all neutral attacks in the game, meaning that any character that has a jab 1-2-3 or a jab 1-2 will connect into those more reliably. This means that it is now almost impossible for Mac to confirm jab 1 or jab 1-2 into anything other than jab 3 or rapid jab, least of all anything quickly. I didn't understand this change for a long time, and I looked into this for hours trying to fully understand it, just trying to define a definitive reason. I looked into the interruptibility, consecutiveness of moves, rage, knockback differences. I even looked into the anti-rebounding property. According to frame data sources, I found that Mac's jab 1 in Ultimate transfers into jab 2 along frame 5, and Smash 4 does so along frame 7, which are both well below the standard FAF for the jabs. These frame windows indicated that the neutral connectivity played more of a role than the FAF for jabs. The connectivity of neutral attacks severely cripple Mac's ability to jab cancel despite the lower FAF in Ultimate. I know it's a video game, but I can't help but look at the irony of a boxer not being able to throw out a single jab without continuing into a specific 2-3. Now, in Ultimate, jab 1 is still a frame 1 option that's very useful. It just has no true conversions now, making its utility much lower. It can still convert into up special at really high percents, but if your opponent is living past 130 and you're having to rely on jab up special for a KO, almost any other option would have been better by that point. And unfortunately, that conversion isn't even true, which I speculate is due to the neutral connectivity attacks as well. In one of the previous patches, there was a glitch that reduced the end lag on Mac's jab 3 if manually input by 15 frames, and allowed for the conversions into forward smash at low percents, a second and even third jab 1-2-3 at mid percents, and side special at slightly higher percents. And players like Soul, who coined the technique as the Dreamland Express, saw decent results using this and netting 40 to 60% off of combo strings using this technique. This has since been patched out, unfortunately, removing an incredibly effective and dependable way for Mac to rack up percent in the early and mid game. The move can now jab lock as well, which it could not do in Smash 4, though almost every character in Ultimate has this capability now, so this is now more so the rule than the exception. This can be an incredibly useful tool if an opponent misses a tech, however. This transitions into Mac's Rapid Jab. In Smash 4, Mac's Rapid Jab was actually a decently effective way to pin someone in a corner, and also confirmed into side special, up special, and KO punch when used with your back to the ledge or platform edge. The pushback from the Rapid Jab forced Mac off the stage, causing the Rapid Jab to cancel, and then you could move into any of your specials. The ability to do this has been removed in Ultimate, and with the discovery of shield stun canceling, the threat of any Rapid Jab on shield has been all but removed. His Rapid Jab isn't terrible, and in Smash 4 it was difficult to just perform a jab 1-2-3 without accidentally converting it into a Rapid Jab, but this issue has been fixed in Ultimate. His Rapid Jab is now just a Rapid Jab. Mac's dash attack hasn't changed much from Smash 4. It's still pretty quick and capable of crossing up shields, and given the mechanical changes for shields, this could have slightly more utility, though I have yet to see it be used in such a way consistently. It can still combo into itself at low percents and has reasonable KO potential at higher percents. Now, for Mac's primary tools in neutral. His tilts all have very little startup, decent range, and launch angles. While none of them are safe on shield, universally, they're safer than they were in Smash 4. We'll start with his forward tilt. This move is excellent. In Smash 4, it was very finicky. It never reliably connected from the first to the second hit, and had very limited utility. In Ultimate, however, man does this move kill. It's insanely strong and retains its trampling or anti-rebounding property from Smash 4. It's incredibly fast with very little startup at only 4 frames. It shifts Mac forward slightly, making its range deceptively long. It gives the opportunity for your opponent to miss a tech and give you a free punish option. Additionally, this move couples well with pivot canceling and can throw off opponents who aren't expecting the momentum shift that comes from utilizing it in this fashion, and it's good for catching opponents at ledge. Nothing but good things to say about this move. Spam it on shield at the ledge and get that stock. To be clear though, this move is not safe on shield. Next, good ol' up tilt. He retained his up tilt strings and up tilt to up air as well as up tilt to up special confirms, which are useful for racking up percents, but the damage dealt on this move is lower, and which also reduces its trampling properties and lowering Mac's potential damage output. It functions well when used with pivot canceling, but not nearly as good as in Smash 4 with perfect pivoting. I still think this move is really good, it still functions well, and as a combo starter and covers landings, it's just not quite as useful as it was in Smash 4. Now for a moveset change that really crippled Mac's kit. There were 4 additional frames of end lag added to his down tilt, changing its FAF from 22 to 26, which removed his guaranteed setups into KO punch at low percents that worked on the entirety of the cast from 12 to 30%. It also eliminated his heal confirm into up special at higher percents, which was a consistent and reliable method for taking stocks. Down tilt was a really useful move in Smash 4 because it had follow-ups at basically all percents. Down tilt side special, down tilt perfect pivot up tilt, down tilt KO punch, down tilt fair, down tilt jump canceled up special. It had so many follow-ups that made it threatening, so throwing it out at virtually any percent had the opportunity to lead to good damage or a stock. The additional end lag on it severely reduced the follow-up potential of the move, though one thing Mac did retain from his down tilt confirms in Smash 4 was his confirm into side special, which is a decent enough damage racking tool, and has the potential to kill at higher percents at ledge. I've seen it convert into up special, and have converted it into KO punch or forward air myself as well. I've done some labbing on this, and I've been able to convert it into up special and have it read as true, but this wasn't consistent, and considering how much later up special kills now, you would likely be better off going for side special. The Smash Wiki lists it as confirming into a plethora of moves besides Jolt Haymaker, though they very well could be referencing the Dempsey tilt, which is an alternative use for the down tilt which was discovered a little while back, where you basically use the shoulder hitbox to be able to confirm into up special or KO punch. It's also supposed to work effectively with spot dodge canceling to get closer to your opponent's hurtbox. The issue with this is being able to land it consistently, and I haven't seen it practically used in a tournament setting as of yet. Down tilt's range was improved in patch 3.1.0, which gave him a much-needed boost to the ability to hit shields at a safer distance, allowing for Mac to put opponents into a disadvantaged state at a further distance. It still has the ability to shark unsafe or miss-space aerials from platforms and can lead to follow-up conversions on unsuspecting opponents. It's still one of Mac's most useful tools in neutral, and is great for getting air dodge reads into smash attacks. It's also a good tool for poking shields at a distance, it just doesn't have as much follow-up opportunities as before, severely limiting its functionality. Next, smash attacks. Largely, his smash attacks have remained the same in Ultimate, retaining their super armor properties and being a staple for edge guarding, anti-airs, shield damage, and for breaking through hits to dish out his own. Mac's smash attacks are definitely still one of his best assets. Forward smash is still one of my favorite moves in the game. I know how many people hate when Mac just tanks a hit and powers through with his super armor, but man, it is satisfying. It's incredibly fast, nowhere near safe, but an overall good move. The upward and downward angled forward smashes still retain their uses, with upward angled killing off of the top for potential DI mix-ups, and downward angled is still an excellent tool for breaking shields and for applying heavy shield damage. It's more effective in Ultimate than it was in Smash 4 as well, and is a reliable and fear-inducing way to apply shield pressure. Up smash received a few additional frames of super armor, further adding to its use as an anti-air, and it still functions excellently at this, making it incredibly difficult for opponents that have a hard time landing. Down smash was untouched in terms of damage and knockback, and it is still one of Mac's most potent edge-guarding tools. Overall, his smash attacks are pretty similar to Smash 4, and are still a very big part of his kit for tanking hits, staying grounded, and plowing through his opponent. Now for the Achilles heel. Overall, max aerials have received lower amounts of end lag, but that doesn't really change much given their terrible range and damage output. Forward aerial no longer auto-cancels out of a short hop, and thanks to down tilt's increased end lag, the combo viability of down tilt to forward aerial to forward smash is no longer consistent. Its uses are really limited and has the ability to combo into Jolt Haymaker, down tilt, or forward tilt if performed while falling, but landing with max aerials isn't often a safe bet, and its percentage of effective use is limited to lower percent since a knockback pushes the opponents too far out of range for any follow-ups to be possible. Up air is still a useful damage racking tool when followed up on from an up tilt, and a falling up air can convert into up tilt, KO punch, rising uppercut, up smash, or jab. So this has some utility, but max falling up air isn't exactly the best option and doesn't have the best range, so it's unlikely to be effective or consistent when trying to land. These are also only true out of a falling up air with forward momentum, so if you're just falling straight down, these won't work. That said, the utility is still there, definitely not his worst aerial though. Due to Mac's faster fall speed and higher gravity, this move no longer auto-cancels out of a short hop, which eliminates any form of follow-up potential. In Smash 4, Mac could up-tilt, short hop back air, and confirm into different options. In this clip I was able to convert up-tilt into an auto-canceled back air into a KO punch. Not much, if any, utility on this move anymore. Little Mac's neutral air is the fastest aerial in the game, but its poor range doesn't do it any favors. It can be useful for getting out of combo strings with any frame gaps and can auto-link into other moves upon landing, but its practical utility would primarily be for getting out of aerial combo strings. Mac's down air still doesn't do much. You can spike characters with crappy recovery if you're feeling really gutsy, but you're honestly better off just going for down smash or down tilt at the ledge. This move is still pretty fast for a down air though, and still has the ability of jab blocking opponents, so it can still have its uses for jab blocking opponents on platforms, though if an opponent misses a tech on a platform, you may be better off reacting to their option from below with an up smash or a KO punch if you've got it. Mac's aerials and aerial frailty have of course always been one of the key dilemmas when discussing his competitive viability. Ultimate hasn't really altered them enough to change that, and that's really unfortunate honestly, but we gotta make do with what we got, and aerials, well, we don't got. In Smash 4, straight lunge was largely useless outside of punishing shield-broken opponents and transferring into KO punch. Ultimate has added a little bit of variety and flavor to the move by granting the player the ability to both cancel it and change its direction. However, the usefulness of this move is still incredibly situational and is not useful enough to significantly alter his kit. The heavy armor on the move can sometimes be useful for landing against combo strings such as Mario's up air, though this would certainly not be an optimal way to get back to the ground, or powering through a rapid jab, but again, it's very situational and not something that can be depended on consistently for armoring through attacks. Though being able to cancel out of it can be an effective method for conditioning or for mind games, so it does have increased utility for mix-ups now. Now for Mac's most iconic move, the KO punch. This move was a godsend in Smash 4 and could turn the tide of any match swiftly after a single down tilt or jab, especially given the two-stock meta we played in back then. And that has largely remained unchanged. It still puts the fear of God into people as soon as that bell dings, but the lack of ability to confirm into it does make it somewhat less reliable than before. But the added ability to reach through platforms can make for one excellent punish opportunity if the opponent is unfortunate enough to have a hard landing on a platform. Though there is a slight amount of horizontal reaching distance sacrificed for this, but overall that change is beneficial. Additionally, the ability to do anything out of a run now included KO punch, and makes charging at an opponent into a KO punch more easy to perform than it was in Smash 4 when jump canceling it was required. It also KOs slightly later than in Smash 4 due to some knockback changes, but this is largely negligible. Jolt Haymaker. I cannot count how many times I killed myself using this move directly off stage. This move was a meme in Smash 4, and fortunately Mac no longer goes into freefall after using it. It's still a confirm off of down tilt and can kill insanely early at the ledge if you get a 2-frame or a ledge regrab with it. However, if you get hit out of it while in midair, you don't get it back. This severely hampers his horizontal recovery. His recovery was bad, but in Smash 4 there were many instances where I would side special, get hit, use my jump, and side special again and make it back no problem. In Ultimate, however, if I get hit out of my side special, all I've got after that is my jump. His recovery is arguably worse due to Jolt Haymaker not being replenished after being hit, and trading with it isn't hard. I'm going to list real quick some of the characters in Ultimate who can use both their side and up special to return to stage. Fox, Falco, Terry, Incineroar, Pikachu, Pichu, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Pit, Dark Pit, Wario, Pac-Man, Bowser Jr., Ryu, Ken, Charizard, and I'm not even sure if this is all of them. Max seems to be the only character that is able to use both of his recovery moves off of stage that doesn't get both of them back after being hit off stage. This has been pointed out by many people, and even some of the top players that aren't big fans of Mac think that this is unnecessary. I personally think that this change was unnecessary as well. I don't even have a problem with the fact that he doesn't get it back, it's just that he's not being given treatment consistent with the comparison to the rest of the cast. And while he does have largely different mechanics, and many people think he's designed poorly because of his unviable air game and oppressive ground game, I don't think that the disparity is reason enough for him to be crippled this heavily when most other characters do not have the same restrictions applied to them. That being said though, Jolt Haymaker does still have its uses, and it's also still effective at stage spiking opponents recovering into stage. Next, Rising Uppercut. This move is still an excellent option out of shield. Still really fast at frame 3, but my god does this move not kill as early as it did in Smash 4. This was a potent kill confirm finisher off of down tilt and jab in Smash 4, and now it is definitely not as useful since confirms into it aren't as reliable or consistent and don't kill as early. It can still function as a mix-up to get out of certain multi-hits or disadvantage states, but Nair also does this and does not force you into a large amount of lag after use. The RCO lag issue, where your character suffers much higher end lag if they're hit out of their up special, has also been eliminated, which I'm very thankful for. This glitch occurred for many characters in Smash 4, and I'm sure that there are plenty of other people whose mains were affected by this that also breathed a sigh of relief when this was removed. Little Mac's counter hasn't changed too much between games. It has received slightly lower FAF if you miss it, and less momentum upon making contact, but it still functions essentially the same and serves as a decent enough mix-up or alternative recovery option. They've given him a slightly longer grab range, and now his down throw has some follow-up potential if the opponent DIs into up special. It's not true or anything, but can be useful if you get a read or as a DI mix-up. Max grabs have mostly been used for punishing weights and shield for like 3% damage. They aren't very useful, but hey, at least they're a little bit more of a grab range now. Lastly, his out of shield options have largely remained the same from Smash 4, being up special, KO punch, or up smash. These are still quite useful and are quite effective. In general, Mac's neutral game has been significantly crippled by this iteration of Smash. His game plan tends to remain the same from Smash 4, he just has a harder time actually accomplishing that goal. Ultimately, his two most useful tools from Smash 4 in down tilt and jab have been altered to where they no longer bear the same utility as they did previously. This in and of itself is not an issue per se, but the issue here is that they weren't replaced with anything. The changes removed incredibly useful tools, but have neglected to effectively give other tools in return. In conclusion, I think that the overall changes to the game's engine have been the primary cause for Little Mac's less competitive viability in this game, and the mixed bags of buffs and nerfs to his moveset have largely resulted in a more negative impact than positive. The bevy of changes made to the movement options characters have restrict him a lot, and some of the changes made to his kit offer him less combo ability and a harder time securing stocks without reliable kill confirms off of jab or down tilt. That being said, I think that Ultimate is in a really good spot. I just think that the specific changes made to the game and to Little Mac have negatively impacted the character I love and my overall experience with the game more so than others. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just how it worked out. The top tiers in this game also give Mac a really hard time. He loses pretty heavily to a majority of the relevant high-tier characters. This could be said in Smash 4 as well, but given the amount of overall improvements the characters in Ultimate have had, coupled with the sheer amount of good characters there are and the multitude of new zoners and trappers, this is much harder for Mac. Not to mention whenever you're dealing with characters like Pikachu, which are a lot smaller in terms of hurtbox size compared to characters like Bayonetta who were at the top of the tier list in Smash 4. His neutral functions in a similar fashion to Smash 4. He has less conversion options than he did, so that makes his game plan slightly more linear. His fast movement speed and frame data offer him quick burst options and the ability to punish unsafe moves with precision and speed. Mac is usually relying on his down tilt or up tilt to create combo starters, and his down tilt is useful for poking shields at a distance since it's buff in the previously mentioned patch. Converting off of these moves is fundamental for dealing damage. Down tilt to side special and up tilt to up special are consistent methods of damage application, each doing 22 and 16.5% respectively, though none of his tilts are safe on shield, so use them wisely and well spaced. For characters with bad out of shield options, this can also give you an additional method of applying shield pressure. Down tilt is also an effective option at ledge that can confirm into side special for really early kills. Forward tilt is a great move in neutral for out-prioritizing opposing hitboxes thanks to the anti-rebounding property, and kills quite early, making it useful for trampling a move or for taking a stock. Mac takes a step slightly forward during the 1-2 of this move, and if spaced to where just the second hit makes contact with the opposing shield, then you may be able to get them drop shield in an attempt to punish it, and you're spaced to where they can't, so you give them a free forward tilt at the ledge for a stock. His up smash is still one of the most effective anti-aerials in the game due to its super armor, which makes landing on him a very risky option, and it also serves as an excellent punish option for opponents that miss techs on lower platforms. His up tilt is useful in this regard as well due to its anti-rebounding property and potential juggling capabilities. Landing against Mac is a difficult endeavor for a lot of characters, especially the larger ones, and is part of what makes his juggling options so good despite not having the aerials to perform that job. His downward angled forward smash is a great tool in neutral to apply heavy shield pressure, and with the amount of shield stun and pushback the move applies, it's able to be nearly safe on shield. He doesn't really have many good safe on shield options, considering his aerials are so poor, so having an F smash that can apply such heavy shield pressure and stun is definitely a blessing. All variants of his forward smash are useful for toughing through an opponent's attacks to put them into disadvantage, and for getting reads off of down tilt. Down smash is probably the most common edge guarding option for Mac, and given its armor and knockback angle off of a 2-frame or regrab, this is no surprise. His mobility makes him incredibly adept at covering tech options or get-up options with any number of attacks. His neutral heavily revolves around using his fast priority tilts to rack up damage, while punishing unsafe moves or outright beating them with his armored smash attacks. His defensive options are not as versatile as most other characters since he relies heavily on his shield and dodges to avoid having to be in the air, and if he does happen to get off stage, mixing up his recovery is absolutely essential for repeatedly making it back to stage safely. His disadvantage state is still abysmal, and I honestly think that getting back to stage may be a bit harder in Ultimate than in Smash 4, due to your only horizontal movement options being side special and your jump. If your opponent removes either of these options from you, it makes it incredibly hard to get back to stage considering that you don't get either of them back after being hit, and side special can trade with just about anything. Getting back to the ground is also a large problem for him. There have been some trade-offs between Smash 4 and Ultimate though. You can no longer spam air dodge in the same way you could in Smash 4, and now have multiple mix-ups in terms of directions with the directional air dodge. And his neutral special now being cancelable can occasionally offer some mix-ups when returning to the ground, but is really only useful in specific situations. Max still gets juggled pretty hard, and his viability when airborne is certainly still the worst in the game. He relies on footsies and bait and punish playstyles to be effectively utilized. His game plan is honestly a pretty simple and straightforward one, but I find it incredibly fun. In a lot of ways, Max Neutral has to be played as if you're actually boxing. It relies heavily on getting a few hits in that deal sufficient damage, and continually baiting opponents and waiting for an opening. Eventually that opening will lead to a knockout blow. So, overall, Mac could really use some changes. I would be okay with a redesign, but if we're operating on the same toolkit, I'd love down tilt back. If Wario has a true confirm into waft, then I think Max should be able to have D-tilt KO punch again. Though, I know many people would disagree. Also, please let him have his side special back after being hit. There is no reason he shouldn't. Even top players have acknowledged that this is an unnecessary hindrance to his already poor recovery. Make his air dodge distance the same as everyone else. He and Bayonetta are the only ones that have less than 20 units, and she has a good recovery, so this doesn't play as big a factor for her. Mac is just treated differently. I certainly wish jab canceling was a thing again, but since this is a universal mechanical change, I don't think that there's any chance of that happening. I don't even want him to be just like he was in Smash 4. I'd just like for him to have a few fixes that would give him a better fighting chance and give him a more diverse combo game. Since his aerials are so lacking and have nearly no follow-ups, I think that the jab canceling would just give him the ability to mix up combos more. His jab can certainly interrupt things, but all you can really do after it is continue the jab, so there isn't really any combo potential off of it. I don't think he needs many changes to be a viable mid-tier character, honestly, and I hope one day we'll get to see them. There are many top players who have placed him as the worst character in the game. As I mentioned previously, in Smash 4 there were several of the top Little Mac mains that have taken stats off of top players. In Ultimate, however, there have been far fewer of these instances. The only notable Mac victories have been from Tarika Tori and Gain over players like Abadango, Tsu, T, and Brood, who are all not as strong in this game as they were in Smash 4, and high placings from Quaz and Soul prior to his inactivity. Though I will acknowledge that the meta for this game is quite young compared to the lifespan of Smash 4, and as such, this may not be a viable comparison just yet, but it is worth noting the distinction. His results competitively are just not nearly as impressive as his Smash 4 iteration, but given the changes I've covered, I don't think that that's altogether surprising. After the transition into Ultimate, I truly do miss Smash 4 Little Mac. I know that many other Little Mac mains have felt the same way. There are still plenty of good Little Mac players out there, but it's just a lot harder on them nowadays. However, in spite of that, I'm sure that there will be still plenty of players determined enough and willing to fight who will attempt to push this character to the limits of what he can do. Now, I know that this analysis is certainly not perfect, and if I've left anything out or any of the information that I've presented in this video is incorrect, please let me know in the comments and link me to a source where I can find the appropriate and correct information. Little Mac has meant a lot to me over the years. I wanted to make this video in an attempt to accentuate some of the main issues regarding his flaws as a character, and so I could give the character that has made such an impact on my life some attention from the community. So, until next time everyone, play more Smash. Once again, I'm Cobalt, and thanks for watching.